held accountable for those rules. But I think it should be working together to get it, not completely handcuffing it so that it can't be done. And that's how I feel. You can't do it now, the way it's written.
Okay,
So.
great, thank you very much.
Yep.
Come on up. No paper.
Really quick, actually. My name is Andrea Klauk. I'm at 3401 Seminary Ridge Lane, Neshota, Wisconsin. And so I just wanted to note that early spring, late winter, that we had some really heavy rainfalls, and the water was puddling all over, flooding everywhere. And it was flowing off the fields, right down Mission Avenue. Took a right turn because it's going to the lowest place onto Mission Road, under the culvert right into Upper Neshota. So whatever is on that field is going to eventually end up in that lake. Also, when talking to Gail, he told us that he probably would never pour the manure on the field like that again. However, at the end of the conversation, I don't think Louisa heard it, he said maybe not until October, or September, October. And that makes me nervous because the ground will freeze soon after that. And then if it starts in spring to have flooding again and flowing off the field right into the lake could be very damaging. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Any other comments? Any other comments? Seeing, almost there.
John Paul Meshing, W32569, Esker Lane, Neshota, Wisconsin. The Gale family has done a wonderful thing with preserving and trying to keep farming in the lake country area. We have lakes and we want country. And the application of liquid manure was done incorrectly. There was very little dialogue, if any, with John Gale before the ordinance was passed. I believe that if the city of Delafield were to sit down with John Gale through rescinding the ordinance and come up with a mutual agreement that it could be beneficial to all. That land being open farmland is beneficial to the community and the people that live around it. I have seen numerous people walking, biking, jogging, all by that Mission Road property and the Mertens Farm. That is a benefit to the whole community that will be gone if that is turned into subdivision on both of those farms. Subdivisions have runoff. Subdivisions have problems with pesticide applications on lawns, fertilizer on lawns. It isn't just the farm that generates this problem. I have 300 acres in Dodge County that I am actively working at getting some liquid manure on to replace chemical applications. Liquid manure can be a very beneficial thing to a farm. Incidentally, the farmland off of Highway C in the village of Shaniqua, much of that is also farmed by Tagline Dairy. So that was used as one example of how nice and beautiful it is. That's the same farmer that is farming that land also. So I am in favor of rescindment and working together with the Gale family to come to a mutual agreement and preserve that land as farmland that will be some of the last farmland that's left in the municipalities. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your comments. You, sir, come on up.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity and thanks for taking the time to hear all these comments. My name is Paul Barber. I live at 3700 North Hickory Lane, Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. I have taken the time to try and understand CAFO farming. We visited a CAFO farm. We've spent some time. None of these people are bad people. They're all trying to do the right thing for the farms, for people who need to drink milk, for organic farms, and all sorts of other things. However, I think we need to ensure that this waste is not, the amount of waste that's being put on this farm, on the farm is, as far as I can tell, and again, I'm not a scientist or a farmer, but way, way more than would be required to give some sufficient nutrient to grow things well. And so I am not in favor of rescinding your current, whatever it is. I am not in favor of rescinding it until we see something that could work and until we can have a conversation, because I do believe we all want farmland. I do believe we would prefer not to have another subdivision. But I have to say that we have to first work it out before, otherwise they can come and spread it. I paddleboard around this lake regularly, the one that is close to the Upper Lake. I can tell you that there are more weeds growing there on the side that the farm is than there were last year, and I'm sure that that's going to continue unless we put a stop to this now. And so it's incidental, it's isolated, just me, but I can tell you that this is an aquifer that feeds all the way into Waukesha, and if you read the geological surveys and things that I've had a look at, it's concerning that we wouldn't know what is going into our water, and it could ruin it for a number of people, not just our own local communities. So I appreciate your listening to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Any other? No, you had your time and you used your full 5 minutes on top of it. So, all right. Citizens' comments are now closed. So we're going to move on to item number 5. Oh, I'm sorry. I made a mistake earlier. We need a vote to approve the consent agenda. I skipped it.
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention passes. Okay, item number 5. Special order of business. Interview District 6 alderperson applicants and action to appoint alderperson for District 6 to take office August 21st, 2018. Begin participating in council meetings in September and serve the remainder of the term ending April 2019. And it's my understanding we have one applicant, and his name is Kevin Maples. If you'd like to come up, Kevin.
Sure he wants to.
And maybe you can start out and give us a little history on yourself and why you'd like to be alderperson, and then I'll ask the council members to ask you some questions.
Okay, fine. My name's Kevin Maples. I live at 2342 Woodland Park Drive in the city of Delafield. I've been a resident of Delafield now for 17 years. I actually built my house 17 years ago. I am an advocate of Delafield. I love what they've done to the city, and that was probably the main driver for me looking at becoming an alderperson. When I first moved here, downtown was a little ragged. They put new streets in. They just beautified downtown as far as I was concerned. Now with the Bark River project again, something that I think is positive for the city. And that really is something that I would like to see continue going. So that's the main driver for me looking at this position.
Great. Council members, comments, questions?
Go for it.
Well, my question, I had gotten to know Kevin a little bit on our board of review. We are locked in a room together for 2 hours once a year. So I've got no objections. You answered the question why you're interested. Despite seeing, litany of petitions on one simple topic, which isn't so simple, you're still willing to sign up? Okay.
It was a good experience.
All right.
And I can appreciate both sides.
I guess, is there any one issue with what you see going on in the city that you'd like to see different Or is, do you have some sort of
I don't think
objective?
I don't think, well, my objective is to keep going what's been going on. Again, when I moved here 17 years ago, I think the city has made positive strides ahead, and they've done some, your members have done some very positive things for the city, and I'd just like to be a part of that.
Kevin, what's your occupational background? Just out of curiosity, we have teachers and therapists and salesmen and engineers. I'm just curious what yours is.
Okay, I'm a journeyman machinist. I moved into operations management in the early 80s. I was an operations manager, general manager, plant manager. Up until 2003, I did a career change and became a specialized aerospace tooling engineer, and I retired from full-time work 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. So I ran companies as large as 100 people, and I've had that experience behind me.
Great, thank you.
You've got a unique opportunity to have a test period because you get to run for office in April.
I know.
Okay.
And you get to read the budget.
Or not, yeah.
I actually had the opportunity to look at the E-agenda, and was kind of overwhelmed that it was about 100 pages. So,
That was a small one.
Yeah, the agenda looks short, so you'll hit the ground running
Yeah.
for sure.
I don't have any questions. I just have the comment that, and for the people watching, we really do need citizens to step up and fill these roles, not only on this council, but on some of the committees. And if people are interested in someday serving on this council, serving on committees beforehand is really helpful, just to kind of learn some of the process. So, and I appreciate that you've done that.
Yeah.
And so, I think.
All right. Seeing no further questions, all in favor of appointing Kevin Maples?
Do you need a
I'll
motion?
make the motion to
I'll make a
appoint Kevin Maples,
There we
the
go.
person for District 6.
Okay.
All right, you got the first and second?
Got it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Welcome.
Welcome.
thank you very much.
See you in a couple of weeks.
We'll swear you in right away. Kevin, we're going to swear.
Kevin, we're going to swear you in up here, so. And as we discussed before, it'll be effective at midnight.
Stand right here. Raise your right hand if you could, please. I, Kevin Maples,
I, Kevin Maples,
having been appointed to the City of Delafield Common Council,
having been appointed to the City of Delafield Common Council,
District 6 seat,
District 6 seat,
swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Back to full strength. Back to full strength.
Now the hard work begins.
Yeah.
That's a
Congratulations, Alderman Maples. Thank you.
Great, so we are, Mike, we're going to take a brief break, and we'll ask for everybody to be back in about 4 or 5 minutes at the most. All right?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, if you can take your seats, we're going to get started. We're just waiting on our AV guy to give me the signal.
I forgot to.
Okay, we're ready. Great. Without objection, the audience was kind enough to try to live with the time frame that we gave them to move this along. I'd like to go to number 7, unfinished business. Discussion of possible action regarding the possible repealing or other action of section 10.1002 of the City of Delafield Municipal Code, application, dispersal, or land spreading of animal manure and animal waste prohibited.
Well, I'll make a comment, and that is that when the spreading occurred last August, I thought it was extremely egregious activity that rightfully we got a lot of calls about, and it was without warning. There was not like if someone's throwing a big party at their house on a weekend, they'll notify their neighbors, maybe invite them, saying, hey, sorry about the traffic, but we got something coming up. And I think that was a mistake on the landowner's part, and maybe he didn't know the specific time it was going to occur, but it would have been appropriate to communicate to the neighbors what was going to happen. And subsequently, I think the city took an appropriate action in making an ordinance to prevent it from happening again. However, certain assumptions were made by me and other people on staff, I know in the city, that communication had occurred or would have, or some notification was given with the landowner, and it wasn't. And someone used the term handcuffed. We slammed the door on something that was initially embraced in the city as far as the potential for a conservation farm to be developed on that property. And that's really melded really well with our long-term comprehensive plan for the city and our land use plan. And unfortunately, I don't think there was a good communication from the beginning about when Gail's name was associated with the farm land. I know there was a meeting and met with staff, what specifically the long-term plans were. And I think we should hold right now as an opportunity to sit down and help define that, and help work with the neighbors, our neighboring municipalities as well, and the property owner and the existing community to lay out what that long-range vision is for Mr. Gale, whether it's going to be with Tall Pines or with the Fay Gale Conservancy vision that I think most people assumed was going to happen. It seemed that way in the newspaper when it was reported. It's what people want. We don't want it to be an adjunct to this CAFO farming method and have it be a hand in glove with a way to dispose of waste that is not appropriate for the area. And I think it would be appropriate to figure out if the two visions can match. If we can get that Norman Rockwell farm people were thinking of, and that maybe John represents, as opposed to 600 trucks attacking us on some summer afternoon and kind of ruining our week and month. There's common ground, and I think we should be able to arrive at it, and if we can't, simply rescinding the ordinance for the time period to redefine a business plan of operation, a long-term goal and vision that we can put on paper and put ink to, shake hands as well as put into law, or whatever agreement we need to put in. I think would be in everyone's best interest. There's a lot of talk about aquifer, and a threat to the aquifer legitimately is 200, 400 houses going in. That's and a lot of impervious surface running water around as well. So I think with our expertise with public works and stormwater management and a well-engineered site plan and business plan of operation with a long-term goal and vision, if we can get that in paper and work over the next few months to get that down and agreed to, I think everyone wins.
I would agree with you. Where I don't is, I don't think you remove the ordinance and then hope for the best. I think you leave it in place and then change it. It's sort of like in this country when we changed speed limits in the state. We didn't suddenly say, well, let's not have any speed limits and then come up with one. No, we left the speed limit at 55 and then we decided 70. And back when, in the dark ages when I was young, the speed limit was 75. Anybody remember that? Yeah. So it changes, but we didn't remove the protections and then come up with something else. So I'm very uncomfortable with the CAFO waste. Cows in CAFOs are not healthy animals. They're fed antibiotics along with their food. They stand in their own feces. I teach environmental science. Everything you're telling me, I've been preaching for the last 30 years. And I get the eye rolls to go with it, but it's real and it's impacting the quality of life, it's impacting the water, and we want to protect all of that at the same time. The farms are amazing as long as, I was just saying to a colleague up here, healthy cow poop doesn't smell like CAFO poop. And it's an odd thing to discuss in a council chamber, but it's just a very different thing. So animal waste in and of itself is a very healthy way. That's how I've done my gardens. I use fish guts and animal poop. It's great. But CAFO waste is particularly noxious, and you all experienced it, and I'm sorry. So I guess I would agree we need to maybe revisit this ordinance, but I think we specifically want to hold on to what we have with the knowledge that we revisit it and work with the citizens.
I appreciate that concern, Jackie. I would say that I think rescinding the ordinance at this time would be a good faith effort. Obviously, I agree with a lot of the comments that were made by the citizens from the surrounding communities. They're all absolutely valid. And the landowner has made obvious mistakes, but I just can't turn my back on the opportunity to keep this property in conservancy or some agricultural type designation for years, for long terms.
So would it suddenly undo, like tomorrow they would no longer be a conservancy?
No.
We didn't just say we would revisit it?
No, but like I said to begin with, I think it's a good faith effort to say, look, we're going to rescind this, we're going to give an opportunity to have discussions, knowing full well the council has already once approved this ordinance and will come back and approve it again if the expectations of the council and the city of Delafield residents are not met.
I'm confused though, why do we need to rescind the ordinance to have a conversation with the Gales about what we might do? Why don't...
Please, no clapping, please.
Have we had any other conversation? Has anything been drafted that you would show me, hey, this is what the ordinance might look like as a compromise? I'm just curious if staff has had any of those conversations yet?
No.
Okay.
So, Mayor, I know there's a backstory to this because you've worked on getting this to this point. And I told a few people that called me on the phone that I get the impression we are concerned that this land is just going to be sold. And we're trying to get their attention by removing this ordinance. Is that?
Yeah, you've seen the letter, it's been in the packets before. It basically says they're not going to move forward with the potential of conservancy. Their preference would be to sell off the land to a developer and allow it to be developed.
And I know that can be a false threat, but...
That's right.
And at this stage of the game, if we remove this ordinance, would
Yes.
put any waste on the land this year? Or
No, so what I have tracked down John, and I had a discussion with him and his daughter, and they've assured me that they would not try to put on any of this liquid manure, injected manure through the end of the year, and it wouldn't make any sense to do it until, mid to late spring when the ground thawed.
But then they're still looking at putting on liquid manure from a CAFO. I guess I'm confused and I don't know this farm. I support a lot of environmental organizations, including Tall Pines. So, and I really support the idea of organic farming deeply. And so I'm confused as how this can be
Sure.
an environmental group that puts CAFO
It's a difficult discussion, right? It
Yeah.
has some environmentalists on one side and others on the other side. So Tall Pines is an organization who's somebody I've also been a member with for many years. I've worked with their executive board, and they would like to see us make a good faith effort to try to work with John Gale to come up with a resolution. That's what their board thinks.
I think we all agree with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So the choice that we have tonight is to give us the opportunity to negotiate with John Gale. His qualifier is that we need to rescind the ordinance. You can like that idea, you cannot like that idea. I'm just telling you what.
I don't do well with full court presses.
I get it, but that's what the position is.
Okay.
He's not going to put it on until at least, the thaw and whatnot in the spring. He doesn't have the ability to do it. So in my mind, that gives us a good 7-month window of opportunity, as Tim says, to try to work out these details. If we can't, we cannot afford to have what happened before be repeated. And if we're not able to get something done in the next 6 or 7 months, then we come back and we put it on the agenda and we ask to put it back on.
But you're asking us to give good faith by rescinding it. Why does he not offer us good faith by allowing us to have conversations while the ordinance exists to protect the citizens? Because you pull this, and we rescind it today, what's to stop him from going ahead and putting liquid waste on there?
Nothing. But why
Nothing
would he?
other than his word.
Would he?
Well, what about our word? He won't accept ours, but we got to accept his?
He's an interesting gentleman, and this is the offer we have. It's our decision to take the offer or not.
I think we also want to keep in mind that it's not just about that offer. I think if he really truly wants to do the right thing, then he will. And the right thing that we have to be mindful of, and we have stood here before with a lot of kind of tough issues before us in my 6 years on council, that you have to do the right thing and not, I don't do well when someone says you have to do what I say and then maybe I'll play nice. It's hard for me. This is the right thing to do, to look at it again. I completely agree.
Yeah.
But we don't remove it in order to look at it again. It makes us look wishy-washy.
When we're about to do it with an ordinance tonight, we usually do it in one motion. We rescind and replace. We're updating, there's an ordinance in our packet that we're updating. An ultimate agreement with Mr. Gale and the future property owners, if we can be successful in a long-term binding agreement toward a conservancy, would mean replacing this ordinance anyway. The current form is not conducive to someone who wants to organically farm a property. So it's going to be replaced if we're successful. If we're not successful, we're putting it back.
I think we just leave it and then negotiate it. It seems like extra steps. I understand what you're saying, but I just don't.
I'd love to do it that way.
I get it.
It's not the offer that's on the table.
And I'm having a hard time with it because I made the motion and we passed it and voted against it. So we're on the other side. So I am I'm extending some faith and I believe it's well placed.
All right, any other discussion? So the motion would be, somebody needs to make a motion.
Let's see, what do we have in there?
Well, I'll make a motion that we hold on to the ordinance as stated, with adding any changes as we speak with the interested parties, and make no changes.
Is there a second? Seeing no second, the motion fails. Is there another motion?
I'll make a motion to repeal section 10.1002 of the City of Delafield Municipal Code.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Got the 2 nays? 3-2, the motion passes. The ordinance is rescinded. Thank you, everyone that come. You give some very good input tonight. We appreciate you coming. 6A. So we're going to move on to 6A, committee reports.
All right,
you.
so Plan Commission, I'm assuming I go?
Yep.
All right, I'll start with just a synopsis of some of the highlights from our last meeting. One that's worthy of noting is we had somebody approach us, and this was regarding it was a comment. There was a piece of property on or near West Shore Drive where there was concern that someone was going to try to fill in wetlands to gain lakefront access, and I think there was some rumors milling around, and ended up being followed up with staff, building inspector and others, and it was rightfully squelched. There was no such activity going on where some wetlands were being filled in to create more lakefront property. We did that 100 years ago when the channels were dug. Different topic is we get to vote on shortly. But I'd also like to mention the fact that there was a homeowner near the sanctuary that had the sanctuary development grow up around them, and they went through all the trials and tribulations of a failed condominium proposal and development that ended up turning into private homes. And there was this landscape plan that they specifically went to a lot of meetings and spent a lot of time on assuring that they'd have appropriate screening from lights and traffic and neighbors and such. And due to some ground reasons, due to black walnuts and what could grow, what couldn't grow, and the floundering initial development and how it evolved over years, they never got that. And it was over the period of 12 years. So they petitioned us for a fence. And they had been here several times and were not fans of fences over the 6 feet or 4 feet high, and they got one. And rightfully in the packet, you'll see that there was several amendments to the actual motion just to get the fence right. So it took us a long time, not as long as getting the fence up or getting the screening up.
It took 13 years for that to get there. Tim was very
anyway,
helpful.
it's not a precedent-setting ruling by the Plan Commission that we're allowing fences everywhere in the city. It's really a precedent to state that when we guaranteed somebody, an existing property owner, screening from a new development, we ended up coming through way late, but we got it to them.
And I appreciated your help on that, Tim. I just want to make one comment. Since this isn't my constituency, I've had one phone call, and it was someone who loves the fence and wished it was all the way across their backyard.
Yeah, well, like I said, this isn't a precedent to create more fences.
It was just nice.
The other one is please read the Plan Commission minutes and look at our next agenda for the Clearview campus plan. If you're familiar with it, it's the kind of hidden. It's between Main Street and the Milwaukee Street, right next to Fireman's Park, and it's an elderly care facility. And they have a very antiquated building, and they were looking to update it in a couple phases. We asked them for a complete, comprehensive, long-range campus plan so that we could hold them to something. And they've been working really nice with the Plan Commission on locating parking between buildings instead of on the road to try to keep the same type of residential setting that they have now. And so just encourage people, if you're asked, to look at the plans and provide feedback, because it's going to be coming up on the agenda next month.
And they did a very nice job of listening to the Planning Commission's feedback and making changes accordingly. It was
One of those comments
very nice.
in that Plan Commission public comment section was regarding the design, that it was too modern, surrounded by kind of colonial architecture. Was there any adjustments made by them, or is not so much?
It does not look like a colonial house. but it looks like something that's going to hide what it is and blend with the landscape pretty
Great
well.
It's
prairie
kind of like a
architecture.
modern
I think it's actually
prairie.
very
Yeah,
nice.
it's
It's a modern prairie. It's attractive,
So,
but it
so
does have a
there's-
slight modern look.
There's critique and it starts falling into what people's tastes are as opposed to what maybe is appropriate. And so we'll see what the planning commission says. I think it looks nice and will blend in nicely. But the big comment was initial plans had a row of parking similar to like what Wells Street Station has in front for the visitors. And it would have been street, sidewalk, parking, then, and all the lilacs and the other stuff that's there now would have been gone with little stick trees and stuff. And so they appreciated that, they took it to heart, and they gave us the natural buffer that I think it deserves.
A circle driveway in front, so they can drop people off, but not.
But check out the plans, give us feedback, we want it, and they do too, I'm sure. So the other thing we have is St. John's came to us a long time ago, maybe 7 months ago, with a proposal for a new sign. The St. John's Chrysostom Church has had a sign there that was very old, in need of much repair, replacement, and it was wood and kind of mimicked the architecture of the church, beautiful church they have back there. And they proposed an aluminum box sign that was backlit, and that was not allowed in the historical district. And it was a little contentious, but they came back with a really tastefully done sign that was approved. And the only thing that we need to do is approve the amended site plan and conditional use, right? Yes. Because it does exist, where they're going to place it, it does exist within the setback of the road, but it's twice as far away from the road as the old one was. So I'll make a motion to stick with the unanimous Plan Commission recommendation to the council to approve the amended site plan and new monument sign and amended conditional use permit as recommended by Plan Commission on July 25th for St. John's Chrysostom Church.
Actually, just before you vote, could I
Yes.
speak just briefly on this?
He's with the church.
Absolutely.
I didn't realize, I knew, I should have
You
asked.
look familiar.
Yeah, no, I'm Tom Schlafer, 1023 Milwaukee Street, and I am here speaking on behalf of St. John Chrysostom. Thank you. My only comment was that, and I had a pretty extensive conversation with Roger Dupler. And so what we've done, in fact, you possibly would have seen it, I actually built a full-size mock-up sign that was out briefly this weekend, just for about 3 or 4 hours, to kind of help get a setting or get a sense of exactly where, in relationship to the sidewalk and the road, that would be. And what Roger had said, and I believe the comment that we left the Planning Commission was that we would find something that the Planning Commission would consider to be acceptable, and that may be closer to the road than the full setback, because the full setback puts it pretty far up on the hill.
And that was what was presented to the Plan Commission, correct?
Right.
And we're sticking with the placement of the sign that was
Yeah.
proposed?
Because we're approving it as proposed, unless you're
Right.
telling us you're changing something.
No,
Okay.
that's right. The final statement from the Planning Commission was the final location was to be determined
By staff.
By
by
staff?
the, right.
Okay.
And so I just bring that up.
That's fair. I won't hold you to my comment. I didn't make
Yeah.
that it's twice as far away, but
Yeah.
Is the site plan to be amended then, once the location is finalized? Because the city's got to take the site plan, attach it to the existing conditional use, and then that document gets recorded at the county.
Mhm.
So is the intention to update that site plan?
I believe so. I'm not an expert at the technicalities of that, but as I say, I've had, extensive conversation with Roger.
What's on the table now is us to approve what the planning commission approved unanimously.
Right.
And we're moving forward with that unless you're telling us there's a change.
I don't believe so. I just wanted to, I didn't want there
specified
to
on
be
the
a
plan.
specific, because again, the statement was made that the setback as the plan from last year, that would not necessarily, in fact, that would not be the determining document for the position relative to the street.
so I'll give you, I guess I'll ask you this question. We've got a site, we've got a plan in our packet that
Yeah.
shows a placement of the sign.
Right.
Is that where the sign's going?
No, it is not.
Okay.
It's a problem.
Yeah, we
a
can't
problem.
approve it.
But again, that was how the planning commission had forwarded to this committee, I believe.
With the
I'm reading the minutes, so do you have them here? Do you
Okay.
have them up?
Please read them.
Iker moved to approve a new monument sign and corresponding amended conditional use for all the numbers there, 500 Church Street, Delafield owner, applicant, Church of St. John Chrysostom as presented, and to allow placement of the signage in the front setback location as described, and to recommend to the Common Council the same. Greenway seconded the motion. There was no further discussion. It doesn't
Okay.
give specific distance.
No, but as described, it's in the.
As described.
There's a map.
Okay.
Picture.
Yeah, I looked at it.
Yeah.
So,
So,
I
are
mean,
you-
my motion is to approve that location that's on the screen. If that is up in the air and you want us to hold off on this until it's determined, that'll be in 3 weeks, right?
do you?
Or we could approve
Do you
it,
want-
and if it changes, you can come back.
We don't want to do it.
What
Is
is,
that a possibility?
I'm going to suggest that we wait on doing
Right.
this.
If there's
until we-
confusion, I don't want to make it
and
worse.
I hate to be technical on you. but
Right.
yeah,
The Register of Deeds likes to reject things that are pictures because we need things in bright line, black and white.
understood.
So my thought is you should go out there and measure where you want that thing.
We-
Everyone likes it and come up with how many feet it's from something.
The problem is that the site plan is that photograph is very out of date.
And
The
that's-
road is not
that's-
that width, the
that's-
sidewalk
that's
is
my
not
point
present.
then.
So what you're looking, the document you're looking at, in fact, doesn't reflect.
Do you have a current,
Highway C.
do you have a survey of the property? You must have a survey from somewhere. It doesn't even have to be new.
How do you spend extensive time with Roger and this is what we're working on?
Yeah, I believe we were using this,
If it's wrong.
again,
I,
you're a little beyond my
I think he
expertise
wants
here.
to change it.
I'm just saving a few steps because at the counter, they're supposed to reject these things. We've allowed them through, but they come out black in the recorded document. And so my thought is if you had a survey that we could come up with, you should be able to see where that old sign is, and then you should be able to say, okay, it's so many feet back from that on the survey or from the lot line, because the old sign should be known from the lot line. And you may have to have a surveyor go out there and find that lot line for you to comply with, I know this is very bureaucratic, but
Yeah, no, I
So it
understand.
sounds like there's some confusion, so I would recommend that somebody make a motion to refer
There's a
back
motion
to the
on the
planning
floor.
commission and let's move on.
I'll make a motion to refer it back to Plan
You
Commission.
Wasn't
can't,
there
there's a
already a
motion on the
motion on the
floor
floor?
that wasn't seconded. There's a motion on the floor still.
Right.
Was there a second?
No.
So that motion fails for a second. And we have a new motion?
So I'll make a motion to refer it back to the Plan Commission for a detailed description as to where the sign will actually be placed
In fact, it probably makes sense,
on a survey.
yeah, even to have, again,
So
this.
is there a second to that
Seconded.
motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? We'll see you at the planning commission. Follow up with Roger, please.
Yeah.
I apologize for that. I did not know that that's what we're running into. All right, with that, that ends the excitement of the Plan Commission. There's a meeting at the end of the month which will include the St. John Chrysostom placement of the sign. And I encourage you, the whole purpose of the sign is to make people aware that the church is there, when their services are, and it might be something you're looking for, so stop in and give them a visit.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you. 6C, Lake Welfare Committee.
Just so that we don't, we're not picking on you. 2 months ago, Lake Welfare approved a boathouse, but not with enough description. And they brought it the subsequent month. The person didn't even have to visit the meeting. We were able to prove it and put it in the record, so. That's where you are now. So we have, with that said, I did not attend that meeting.
Thank you.
The most recent Lake Welfare Committee meeting, they discussed a boathouse for 1303 Milwaukee Street, which is pretty much kind of undersized, so that's not the issue. It's just coming up with accommodating all the rain.
Yeah, it's an existing
Gardens and-
old
yes.
concrete
So here's a
boathouse.
similar situation where it now goes to the next agenda where they'll come back and write it all down. It'll probably be approved. They worked on the budget for next year, and the rest is in the minutes. They're in the record.
Sounds good. Park and Rec?
Park and Rec, last meeting was late July, discussion regarding negotiations with St. John's. If you are aware of the Bark River, the north side of the Bark River, to the west of Liberty Park, there, between St. John's Golf Course and the Bark River, there's a trail back there. And folks use that trail. Part of it is city-owned property, part of it is St. John's. So the city attorney is working with St. John's to create an easement to have that accessible. And have Park and Rec kind of clean it up and make it something that folks can get to and through quite easily. The Bark River and everything around the Bark River, enhancements continue. The stoning continues. Most of the delays have been due to wet weather, we're told. And there is one small change. There was a narrow outcropping added to the north side of the dam to allow kayakers easy access on and off. Ledge stone instead of field stone. And then for the budget upcoming discussions, there are 3 items that you'll see in the capital budget. Cushing Park erosion control for $30,000, fish hatchery courtyard for $20,000, and a Bark River boardwalk behind the soccer field for $9,500.
Great, thank you. I'm assuming there was no Public Works Committee meeting because I don't see any minutes. Is that true?
No meeting.
No meeting. Delahart Commission.
Delaware Commission is, we're just chugging along. We're entering our budget time like everyone else, and things are running smoothly.
Great. Library Board? Looks like no
Library
meeting.
Board met on the 6th of August. We were a little early this time. Couple of things to make note of, that an outreach and circulation assistant position was posted as open as of today. And then they'll begin interviews for the position after the 7th. And the person in the position is going to be missed. We also approved our strategic plan. I think, Mr. Mayor, you had a couple questions about that when it was sent to you, but it was unanimously supported by the library board, and things are just plugging along great there too.
Wonderful. Board of Zoning Appeals, no report. Promotion and Tourism.
Well, we did have a meeting and kind of discussed what is public knowledge, and that's the show Around the Corner, which by John McGivern. It should be broadcast next year sometime on public television.
January or February.
It will be in the first, okay. And then secondly, Dennis Subcheck has volunteered and was voted to join the Deer Management Committee, and we appreciate that. And then we had a ordinance that is in your agenda tonight that I'll make a motion to approve, 747, and basically is we're changing the Delafield Tourism Council to a tourism commission, and that's to make it consistent with state statutes and kind of consistent with the way it operates now, because it has kind of a separate function from some of the things we do, similar to the police commission, the fire commission, and even the plan commission. So I would recommend that we approve that.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, passes.
That's it.
That's it? Great, thank you. Lake Country Fire Commission, no report. Lake Country Fire Board.
Fire Board, our last meeting, it's a budget discussion. The proposed budget has a 2.83% increase for 2019. That budget will be debated and likely passed on August 30th, which is our next meeting. One of the capital expenditures due in 2020, the ambulance for $287,000 has, at the request of the chief, been pulled forward to 2019 as their current vehicle has been very unreliable. So in your packet are our current finances. The department stays on pace just like they have for the last 18 months. Busy, busy, busy. That's it.
Thank you. Tree Board, any report there?
No report.
Tree Management Committee.
Our next meeting is this Thursday, the 23rd, 7:30 a.m. in here. What we will be doing is putting the final touches on our strategic plan for the fall and early part of 2019 to submit to you. Just to remind you, by ordinance, we are required that Deer Management Committee to submit by September 1st to the Common Council our recommendations on what our plans are going to be. So that's what we'll be working on on Thursday. Just letting you know, there's been a lot of progress, both with the DNR. I've been in communications with Lantham Peak State and also with the county. The county did a browse survey, and they're going to do another one at Nagawaka Park, and more than likely they're going to follow the same type of procedure they did, and in 2019 possibly open up bow hunting in the park if it continues to show the need there. So we will have a more detailed report after our meeting on the 23rd.
Great, thank you. All right, we'll move on to Mayor's Report. 8A, discussion and action to appoint Susan McVeigh to the Lake Welfare Committee.
I move to appoint Susan McVeigh.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention? 8B, discussion and action on the resignation of Jeff Crickham from the Board of Review.
I'll move to accept Jeff's resignation.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 8C, discussion and action on the resignation of David Simon